just got my nails done. I just did a fucking face mask. I got my hair did. Like, I'm looking good. Like, who can I call up? Attitude bougie, looking like I'm zoomy. Distracted by your body, so your number saved as cutie. Thought this was a dream, girl. Movie when I seen, girl. She ain't for the team, girl. Cleaner than the beam, girl. Shorty is a mean girl. Mean girl, mean girl. Mean girl, mean girl, mean girl.
Hey, and we are back live with another episode of the Allegedly podcast. I am Neek, and this is
Dee, what's poppin'? Oh my God, that was so loud.
y'all. We are so excited to be back with y'all. This is episode number 2 of the Allegedly podcast show, and today is a very, very special podcast show because we have a very, very special guest in the house that's doing amazing things all around the city of Pittsburgh and beyond for not only the LGBTQIA plus communities here, but the people in general fighting the good fight. Tina,
Oh my God, no, I'm gonna let them introduce themselves because, oh my God, they are so amazing.
No, y'all, stop.
So go ahead, boo, introduce yourself.
My name is Adrianna Branin. I use they, them, she, her pronouns. I'm the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Manager for the Office of the Mayor. Yes!
Yes!
Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access for the Mayor.
that alone sounds important.
Listen, and today we got 2 mics, 2 headphones, and we rocking it out. Ain't that right?
Period. That's what we do. Allegedly.
So again, we are in True Tea space today. Something phenomenal happened. That's why we have our guest here today. So I'm going to let them talk a little bit about it. And also, what are your pronouns?
Yes. So I use they, them, and she, her pronouns.
Period.
Today we had the first LGBTQIA Commission Town Hall. The point of this town hall was to introduce all of the public to our LGBTQIA commissioners who volunteer their time to advocate and give advice to the mayor and city council about how we can continue to protect LGBTQIA folks and ensure that our rights are being honored and that our voices are being uplifted. And so I wanted to make sure residents recognize those people. And then we also talked about all the efforts we have in the city that we are trying to center LGBTQIA voices, whether that be in housing or supporting efforts like Pride, or thinking about how we're creating legislation or opportunities for businesses. We really just want to ensure that we are integrating LGBTQIA identities into all aspects of government. And then we ended the town hall talking about our non-discrimination laws and how in the city of Pittsburgh, if you experience discrimination on the basis of your gender identity or your sexual orientation or your gender expression, that you can report it to the Commission on Human Relations and they will investigate it and deal with that.
Yeah, I love that. So just a little bit about you, like what made you get into this work to begin with?
I am queer. So there's the beginning right there.
Hello, somebody.
Right then, just to be clear. No, I came out at a super young age, like 14, 15. Did not find a ton of support in my family, as many people do. Was very lucky that I grew up in Philadelphia, where there's a very vibrant queer community, and I found really a second family with the Attic Youth Center in Center City, Philadelphia. And was given a crash course in queer history and queer culture. Got really into the ballroom scene, just really fell into it. And I was very lucky when I was 17 to work with the Philadelphia School District to create Policy 252, which specifically protects gender nonconforming students being able to use whatever name they want, use whatever facilities they need. And at the time, I was just a non-binary student really struggling when it came to having my pronouns respected, being able to not be called an it and things like that by my teachers. And so that policy meant a ton to me at the moment. It really kind of propelled my interest in being more kind of on the ground in LGBTQIA activism. I did a lot of that in college. And then I fell into my role today. And one thing I wanted to plug, which I thought was really sweet, is that the Philly School District is actively not working with the Trump administration.
That's amazing.
And they are using the policy of 252 and saying, hey, we did this over 10 years ago. We're going to stick by it. And it really brought me so much joy. So, yeah, I'm very, very happy it was full circle.
That is trans joy, baby. Yes, I live. Oh my goodness.
Taking back our power, it's so beautiful when you can see a member of the community that you're a part of or the people that you serve actually growing into these leadership roles, right? And now being able to be the voices for us, And this is what we were talking about in our last episode, the importance of knowing the faces of the people who actually sit at the table with the people making decisions that impact our lives. So I want to thank you for that. Yeah, so you are in this work. You told us about your kind of your story coming from Philly and then transitioning into this role in Pittsburgh in the government and whatnot. How is your experience working with these upper echelon individuals? And do you at any time feel like your identity or just your existence in general is ever tried or tested?
That's a great question. And I will definitely say I did not work in government prior to this job. Mm-hmm. I worked in nonprofits. And so the culture was a little different. And getting into government, I definitely had the perception of maybe I might have to minimize myself. Or I might have to fit into, a certain box that I'm not comfortable with or not familiar with in the same way. I am very happy to say that I have not had to minimize myself in any way.
Because if you do, I'm coming down.
Absolutely. And you know what, honestly, if I could not be my full self in the work that I do, I would not be able to advocate on behalf of others. And so I have been really supported in both my identity and in my advocacy, in my opinions, in my expertise, and in my opinion as to what is going to be best for our community. And I've been very, very lucky to be able to be given that platform. I feel deeply privileged to be able to work with the mayor and the city government to ensure that LGBTQIA rights are being centered. Yeah.
I love that. Oh my goodness.
It's a little bit of hope. You know what I mean? Like a lot of hope, honestly. Yes.
Oh my goodness. I don't know if I have any more questions. Because I'm messy. That's why it's called allegedly. So we're not going to ask no messy questions. Even though
you can ask him. I don't know if I'm answering, but you can ask him.
Because I'm going to ask some nasty questions. I'm really trying to think about some things. I know that Pittsburgh, we are in this transition period with everything. So when it comes to like us being the sanctuary city, could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
And the work that is happening around us becoming a sanctuary city? Because I have my thoughts about it, but I want to hear, what your thoughts are. It doesn't have to be the facts.
No,
because this is allegedly.
I hear you there.
Yes, but I definitely want to just, get your insight on that.
Yeah. So I'll say our status as a sanctuary city for gender-affirming care came before me.
Yeah.
So I came into my role trying not only to understand where the city government starts and ends and what kind of impact we can have as a municipality, but also what it meant that we've already declared ourselves as a gender-affirming care city. So, like, what are we doing? What's the kind of the punch behind that?
Exactly.
From my understanding, it means it's very much an if this happens, then we can do this.
Exactly.
And in that instance, it is if gender-affirming care becomes illegal, then the city will do everything that we can to not enforce that, to not imprison folks, to not punish anyone for getting gender-affirming care. Now, let me say, does that mean that we can come down on institutions that are not being inclusive of gender-affirming care? No.
And that is the problem.
That is the difficulty. Yeah.
That is definitely the difficulty, because then with that language, the way that it's structured currently, there's nothing that we can do, and discrimination is still going to happen. So like there is a bigger fight to be had, but in a lot of education, to be had as well, as making sure that like these public officials, not yourself because you're amazing, but the other public officials, just understand like when you are creating bills such as this, you have to include the people that they are impacting, because then you come across situations such as this where we are at the precipice of us losing everything that we have for healthcare, and there's nothing that can really help us on a local level. But,
no, I hear you, and it is hard because I know, it is symbolic in a way. Absolutely. To say, the city is standing by trans and non-binary folks. We are standing by healthcare. We are standing by the fact that you have a right to your own body and to make decisions as to what is right for you. Absolutely. But at the same time, I agree with you. At the end of the day, we cannot do a lot of things that would be much more impactful to the community. And so we can say things like we're a sanctuary city for gender-affirming care.
We need action instead of...
But we want action, absolutely. And I think that's reasonable because we need to hold ourselves accountable in those instances, and we need to listen to the communities in which we need to serve. And that can be difficult, but I think that it's an ongoing effort, and it's important that we have uncomfortable conversations, that we have difficult discussions, and that we, whether it is using soft powers of influence and advocacy or actively, arguing for more regulation or more kind of criticism from city government or from other government officials, partnering with other, like the county, which does have oversight on healthcare and things like that, and can hold folks more accountable. How are we bridging those gaps? How are we ensuring that those folks that do have those powers are in the room and can be active with them? Yeah.
Yes. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah. So I'm curious because I feel like.
See, listen, y'all. He said he had no questions, and listen.
Because I was in work mode. I was in cleanup mode.
I'm helping you clean up.
But I do have a question because I feel like you're just all around amazing, and I can just feel the passion as you continue to talk.
My ego's gonna be.
But that's what this is about. You got to have a little bit of ego in your work. You know what I mean? But I think that you're built for this, honestly, and not everybody is made for this type of work. You know what I mean? And so my question is, in the next 5 years, where do you see yourself, or is there a role that you might like to run for? Because I can see you in lots of different places.
First of all, y'all trying to get me to run for office? It's wild. So I will be totally honest. I am, as I said before, deeply privileged by the work that I do now. I'm deeply passionate about it. I love that I get to serve the communities that I feel have taken incredible care of me. As a minor, I really found myself with our community, and I feel so honored to be able to represent us in any way. Saying that, DEI is really in a weird place right now. Obviously. I do have fear of what comes after this job, knowing I have diversity, equity, and inclusion and access on my resume. There's moments where I'm on a personal basis, would I be able to get another job in government, in nonprofits, but that's real. So I will always want to be an advocate for our community in whatever essence I can be. I do see myself continuing to work in government. I love local government because I know that it can have such a direct impact on residents. Obviously who the president is matters, who your senators are matter, but on your day-to-day, who is actually impacting you the most, it's actually going to be your elected officials on a local level. And so I would love to stay in this position for as long as I can. But absolutely, I can definitely see myself, running for office sometime down the line. I've always enjoyed working with community members, and I try to the very best of my ability to show up in a genuine fashion. I hope that connects with folks.
And it's felt I felt it from the first day we sat down and had the meeting. I felt it. So maybe you for mayor one day.
No. I don't know about mayor. I'm not trying to step on my boss's toes. Anyway, no. But I definitely can see the value of having our voices in general being in spaces in which you're making the decisions. And I have some of that now, but when you are elected by the public, when you are somebody in a higher space and can be a role model for the rest of the community, I see the immense value in that.
So valuable, and the fact that you bring this energy that is approachable, right? So even as a person who's not super deep into politics, I would feel comfortable to sit down and pick your brain and ask you questions and educate myself. And I think a lot of other people can probably attest to that too. And I think that that's so important because growing up, we really didn't get to interact with our politicians, right? I mean, you saw the mayor on TV. Now the mayor was just in our building, like, you know.
But I think that comes with what we are doing as well. We are leaders in the community, and I feel like that sometimes we forget that because I walked in and everybody's talking to me, and sometimes I be forgetting like who the fuck I am.
We be having to remind Dina who she is.
Because I was like, oh fuck, I be forgetting. Yeah, but it's just because it's selfless. You know, this is because, you know, like for me, I'm just gonna say for me, as a child, I did not see none of this at all whatsoever. Right. So like now I am fighting hard. I'm fighting for that little person, you know, to have all of the things that I didn't have. So like I'm an adult here in these spaces, and I'm like, I'm only fighting because I know what I did not have, and I know that what is missing and how it impacted me. Exactly. And I want to make sure that, you know, that doesn't happen to other people. And sometimes, you know, it may impact people negatively, you know what I'm saying? And when I say that, I mean, like, because they have access to so much sometimes that it can, you know, how can I put it? I don't even know how. So basically, like, if they don't have to struggle like we have to struggle, and I don't want them to struggle like that, but also sometimes you have to have that because you need that type of strength.
Without it blinds you to those realities.
Exactly,
you know?
because now, like in the atmosphere, like the climate that we're in right now, you know, I'm gonna be okay. I'm a hustler. Listen, I'm a hustler, and I'm going to get how I get it. Period. It don't matter. I'm gonna make sure that I have. You know what I mean? Before all of these things, I had my name changed. Before all these things, I had got my breast augmentation. Before all of these things, I was on hormones. I was able to access all these different things before there was something put in place for us specifically. But a lot of people don't have access to that. And now that it's taken away, it's like, well, what are they going to do? And a lot of them are going to unalive themselves. And we're already seeing a lot of folks who are really unaliving themselves because they don't have the strength to deal with this. And sometimes I feel like that's a little bit of our fault because we don't prepare them for this. You know? So,
absolutely.
I don't know.
No, it's hard. That's definitely
hard. Like that's just how I feel like it is very positive, you know, and it's a little selfish, like I said, because it is like that little person inside of me who really wants to have this space for our people to grow. Like I wish that we had this space when I was a kid. Right. Yes. So now I'm making this space. And I'm going to fight to keep this space. Yes. You know what I mean? But also it's like I had to struggle and fight all my life. I had to fight.
Fight some more.
Okay. Listen, and for them not to be able to experience that is sometimes is a disservice because then that they don't have that shield, that wall for them to be able to protect themselves. And if we're not there, because I'm not always going to be here, somebody blow my motherfucking head off today or tomorrow.
Let's not, though. Let's not.
I'm just saying, like, you know, what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? And it's just like, you know, that is my fear. Like, we are coddling the youth sometimes, and they don't have that backbone like we have. Now they do have one. Yeah. Because some of these kids, I be like, they will bring attention listen. To issues, which is helpful. But the resilience, I think, that we not to say they don't have none, but the resilience that we had growing up is different than the ones that they have today. And it just scares me a little bit because I don't want them to, you know, just not exist.
Yes,
not
absolutely.
Be able to be them.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, well, I digress.
No, I agree with you though completely. Of, you know, when you cook under pressure in an instance, you know, you are a little more, you know, you got a hard skin. You can prepare for the ups and the downs and a little bit more stability in those instances. And obviously, for any member of our community, especially younger folks, we don't want them to have to go through the same struggles. But at the same time, knowing the realities that we're facing,
see what I'm saying?
We don't want them to crumble. And that's hard. And that's a hard balance. Of course, I don't want you to suffer, and I don't want you to struggle, and I don't want you to be traumatized. But also, the world is a cruel place. We have been working so hard for so long. And yet, and we still have regression. We have moments right now of folks that, are out in the military that are being targeted, folks that are just trying to get their medical care that are getting targeted. And so, I agree with you in that instance of like, how are we preparing them for those ups and downs? How are we ensuring that there's still support in place when your rights are being taken away or when you are being targeted in a way that you didn't expect or you haven't experienced before?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is so unfortunate. I don't know. We're gonna have to work on that. So we gotta band together.
I will say one thing though, just to agree with you, is that definitely growing up, I did not think of voices like ours in any public forum. Did not think about us taking up positions of power. I did not meet an elected official until I was 18 years old.
Yes.
And he was Brian Sims, he was the representative for the Attic Youth Center in Philadelphia, and that was the first time I ever met a queer person in any sort of politics. Up until then, I was just like a little activist that loved doing what I was doing and being loud and outrageous and arguing and being really just a menace.
In the right way.
But, I come from a low-income household. Like, nobody was ever saying you can be a representative, you can work in government. It was always very much, go and be a doctor, go and be a lawyer, go and be something that we know is going to make money and is going to be stable, honestly. And it really wasn't until I was exposed to those folks that were, breaking those barriers, really making their voices heard, taking up space from our community.
To the rooms and being that power.
Yes.
And
I wish that for the next generation as well.
That's what I do too. I'm trying to, I so want to see that, and I try to push so many of them out there sometimes. I really push hard. I do. I be pushing hard because I'm like, we're not always going to be here to do this, and I need other people to do that. And also, I need other people like out, like other officials and just different people to see different faces because it's not just me doing this work.
Exactly.
There's so many of us that are doing the work, and they need to know who they are and need to know that they're a part of this as well, and part of this ecosystem that is making this whole thing work.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
That's so true. It makes me think also about like how in these positions. You said, I just saw it coming closer and closer. I just lost what I was about to say.
You had magic.
Damn, I just lost what I was about to say.
Sorry.
It'll come back to me though. But about how we were kind of in this conversation around like the lack of visibility of us seeing people like us in these roles growing up. And then now today, because there are more of us in these roles, the world has this habit of forcing us to compete against each other as well, which is another issue, right? And we all share the same common end goal that we're reaching for. However, funding is limited, space is limited, visibility, support, all of that is limited, and you're kind of always competing against the same people who are doing the same work as you to get nowhere.
Nowhere at all. And it's like, even here, like Pittsburgh, there's 3 organizations, like the bigger ones. There's 4 actually, but there's 3 bigger queer Black organizations, and 2 of them are trans organizations. And I feel like they always try to ping pong and make us fight and do all of these things. Like, but for what? There's more than enough money. There's more than enough money for us to be able to do the work that we're doing, and y'all give us pennies and make us want to, because they know that we will make lemonade out of any motherfucking thing. So they'll give us pennies, and it's just like, no, you can't keep doing this to us. Like, you cannot. And now we're in this era, like, everything is threatened. You know what I mean? Like, I was just reading some information, some articles about HIV prevention and care and all of those things that are up on a chopping block.
Yes.
What are we going to do when that happens? Because let's be clear, all of this, not here, but I'm just saying, like, everything that we do is around HIV prevention and health.
Absolutely.
That's where all of the money for the queer community comes from in the nonprofit sector. So when that's gone, what's going to happen?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, maybe we will to put that out, because that's giving ammo to our people, you know, not to our people, but to the other people, you know, like, okay, well, we know how to get to all them folks, but it's like, that is a real life fact, because that's the only pot of money that is a pot of money that is going to go into our community.
Yes.
There's no other pots of money. Except for on a state level where they have some discretionary funds, but how long is that going to last?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you're stripping this money from the LGBT community as if the LGBT community are the only people affected by HIV and or AIDS. You know what I mean?
Feel me? It's so weird to me. Like all of these efforts that like they're closing down all of these agencies, but they're paying Doge $8 million a day. Some of these agencies only run on $8 million a year. I'm confused.
That doesn't count on the money that Elon's also getting through contracts.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? Like, allegedly. Oh, we getting into it.
The richest man in the world making those decisions is a little ridiculous.
Well, allegedly, Tesla's going down.
He don't care about Tesla because he's getting money other ways.
He got space. He's going to Mars.
No
What are you
shit,
talking
you're
about?
right.
No, I will say, I remember when PrEP for the first time was really being integrated and really passed out to mostly young black gay men in Philly, and the immense impact that it had. Where I had a conversation with somebody a few weeks ago, and they were like, "Oh, I don't even know what PrEP was," and I was like, "Oh, what?" I was like, "Wow, that's crazy!" Like I've known about PrEP since I was probably 16.
They still don't know what PrEP is?
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, I've never heard of this before," and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's concerning to me a little bit."
Yes.
But no, I think all of those efforts and understanding the history of of the suffering that it took for us to get to a place where we can actually not only treat HIV and AIDS, but also prevent HIV and AIDS and reduce the amount of health issues that our queer brothers and sisters and siblings are experiencing. I think is so incredibly important, and seeing not only that funding be in jeopardy in the U.S., but also overseas. Understanding that, USAID and the work they were doing to address HIV and AIDS in other countries that were already struggling with it, having all of that pulled back and really effectively killing those people in many ways. And that is, they can argue that saving money, yada, 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 but at the end of the day, at the expense of lives, it's never going to make any sense.
So it's not about saving any money.
No, of course not.
It's about dismantling what we have in place. It's about dismantling the democracy that we have currently, like all of the policies. Because at the end of the day, Trump is an anarchist. Yeah. And in order for him to get where he wants to be, he has to abolish the system. So what we fight for, what we talk about, what we are in the streets and we're rah for, he's actually actively doing it. I know I say this all the time. I probably said this in our last show because I'm going to keep repeating that one. Like it blows my fucking mind because he really is doing this. He's really going in there and he's abolishing the system. And well, it doesn't really blow my mind. It blows my mind because we don't have no actual plan in place. We knew that this is this could be a potential reality for us, and instead of us preparing for it, we were just like hoping that it didn't happen.
Yes,
and it's just like now it's here. What are we going to do? And we're all scrambling, trying to figure it out and how to navigate through something that we knew about when he first started campaigning. Because this is all in Project 2020. We had the playbook. The whole entire playbook. And it's just like, what the fuck are we doing? Not us, but like the rest of the country.
The party.
Yeah. Like what? And then y'all are not like, there's like one or two people that really buck up to them and everybody else is just like, la 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 la. Like, hello, wake up. No one cares about anything until it affects them. Exactly. And now you go on TikTok, you see all these Trump supporters gagging, right? That he's eliminating and taking away things. They're crying. Like,
The veterans are mad.
They are mad.
The veterans are at the town hall screaming at people.
Like, but y'all were the first ones in line screaming Trump 2025. You know what I mean?
Like that's literally. And then today, like when we were. Oh my God, we had to put my dog down today.
Oh my
but
God,
I know it was fucking traumatic. And then I had to come straight over here. But
I would have gotten you some flowers.
This is always some shit. Oh my God. And I'm in the vet office and I'm scrolling through my phone like, and then I see that they're fucking dismantling the Department of Education. I'm like,
Yeah.
What the fuck are these kids going to do? These special ed kids, because people don't even understand. Like, that is not dismantling all of education. That is for special needs children or people who need some type of special help of some sort, and that's a lot of kids. Half of America can't even read off of the third grade level.
Absolutely.
I'm confused.
Absolutely no.
And these are Trump. These are your people. Like,
no, yeah.
These are like the trailer park people that you like that voted for you.
Absolutely.
This is your voter base.
I feel like right now they probably feel like America's a little too smart, right? My 7-year-old nephew can navigate TikTok in his phone, you know? They're trying to dumb us down, you know?
No, honestly.
But for real.
It is crazy. It is. This is diabolical work. Like, it's diabolical. But again, it goes back. We knew this was happening. It was all in this Project 2025. No matter what, we should have been prepared. We were not. So how are we going to move forward? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we going to do? And then we have so many people that don't have these lived experiences that are in power, like position of power. You know, we have some of us that are in certain positions, but then the people who are really making the decisions, they don't have no lived experience. So they're looking at us like, no, you can do X, Y, and Z. Just like the funders, they'll give us pennies on the dollar a lot of times. And it's like, well, you'll make do with it, but we won't. You know what I'm saying? But we won't. And now they're taking all of this away from us. Like, what? And we don't have anything, but the little bit we did have, y'all are attacking us for.
No, really.
It's weird. But I definitely, it is weird, but I understand because, you know, the most vulnerable population of people, you have to really go in and you can experiment, you can attack, you can do all of these things so you'll be able to attack the other vulnerable population of people. Yeah. So you go in and you go with the most vulnerable first, and then you make your way up. And I feel like that's exactly what's happening. Well, I know that's what's happening is they're coming in because, you know, across the board, you know, black, white, green, gay, straight, doesn't matter. People sometimes are so confused about trans individuals and don't understand at all whatsoever. So people fear what they don't understand. And if you have a person out here, you know, disseminating all of this fucking wrong information, you know what I'm saying? After a while, if you keep giving it to them, if feeding it to them, they're going to believe that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what they're going to believe.
Especially
they're going to believe that trans women are boys going into the girls' bathroom and trying to touch little girls. Like, what? While we're the
great education.
while we're the ones in there getting dragged out of the bathroom.
No, honestly.
It's insane. But that's all facts.
Oh my God.
Okay. I'm like, on that positive. No, I'm joking. No, I agree with everything you just said, along with the fact that I am personally, on a personal basis, very disappointed in not only the lack of a plan, but the lack of like any rhetoric really around standing by what I thought were democratic values.
Yeah.
You know, like and there are some folks that are doing that. There are some folks that are standing the line that are saying like, we're not going to step back from immigrants' rights. We're not going to step back from trans rights. But you know, I see folks with huge platforms like, I'm going to name drop like Gavin Newsom.
Okay.
Who's been having little conversations with very conservative folks and agreeing with them in instances that are really hurting the most vulnerable members of our community.
Because he wants to be president.
But that's what I mean. You trying to cater to the masses by targeting the most ostracized or vulnerable communities and othering them is really not doing. First of all, you look like an asshole. I'll just say that. You do. I mean, honestly, you're targeting folks that were always on like the kind of getting the last crumbs of attention, of support, of being uplifted, of being valued by our government. And then in a moment when it's really convenient for you or that you want to be liked by more people, you're targeting the same people that have already been struggling to get the little bit of support they were trying to get before. And that, you know, that saddens me that there isn't more of a kind of like digging your heels in and sticking by your morals and your ethics and understanding that, of course, the issues that exist in America are not because of trans girls being in sports. Right. They are because trans men are trying to get hormones or gender-affirming care. They're not there because immigrants are trying to get a job or stable housing. Like, those things, you know, economic issues, are the pay gap, all of the things that really impact us day to day are not caused by the most marginalized people in our communities. They are caused by the folks with the most power, with the most income, with the most wealth. And it's sad that we don't hold those folks more accountable, and instead we target the people that never really had the representation they deserved in the first place.
All these capitalists.
Yeah.
No, period. So tell us what's up next for you.
What's up next? Okay, so first and foremost, we have Outfest in October.
Yes.
So I want to talk about this because I think it's really important.
Yes.
And I love that, obviously, the both of you will be involved in one way or another. I'm like, by the way, you're invited. If you want to come, that'd be great.
Yes.
You know, I think at a time where so many members of our community, specifically trans and non-binary folks, are really being targeted and minimalized, it is so important to really create space in which we are celebrating and uplifting identity. And that shouldn't only happen once a year. That shouldn't be happening only 1 month a year. Like, obviously, in the same way we talk about any marginalized communities, like, this should not be something we're thinking about, like, in a small bit of time in February or in June or something along those lines. Like, we need to be showing up authentically for folks.
Yes.
And so, you know, beyond all of the advocacy efforts, all of the legislation we want to do, ensuring there's, you know, unisex bathrooms in our city facilities, like the things that are going to impact people day to day. I also want to create space for queer joy, for trans joy, for us being visible, for us being uplifted and still being valued by our city, regardless of what is going on outside of this city.
Yes.
Love that. Love that. And we're going to be a part of that.
I love it. And I feel like that just makes me think about the Pratt 365, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pratt 365 is a continuous celebration all year long for the LGBT community. Because like you said, why do we only get 1 month? Just like Black History Month, right? That's what we always say here. True T celebrates Black History 365 days a year, right? Like, so you're not going to limit us to February. But yeah, I think that that's beautiful, and we will definitely be there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, so this has been amazing. I'm so happy this conversation was fab, and I'm so glad we did it. You ain't want to do it, and look, it was fab, bitch. Yeah.
I be having to prepare my brain. I be needing to write my questions out and like practice what I'm going to say. I swear to God, like we were supposed to do this podcast for 2 years, and it was like,
and I'm a lucky duck to be on episode 2.
And every time she asked, I'm like, Dina, we need to practice. We need to, like,
And
but
Dina be like, yeah, no, that's good. Like today.
so we just started, like, yeah.
I know. This was fab.
And you're our first live guest, so you are.
No, wait. What an honor.
You are history,
You didn't
allegedly.
You were being all subtle. You were like, yeah, just sit down and start talking. I was like,
That's
okay,
how she got me.
fine,
Yeah, it was like,
that's fine. No, that's so wonderful, and I'm so happy I could talk to
When you're
y'all.
organic, it happens the best.
yes.
You know, when it's organic, it happens the best. We just had an organic conversation, and it was fab.
It was. I feel
all
like
out and ghetto.
a lot of info was dispersed, but it felt fun. You know, it wasn't
Hey,
like.
you're going to chop it up, and it's going to be amazing.
Thank you both so much
Thank
for having
you.
me.
Look,
I
you
love
had a
you both
long
so
day.
dearly.
I know.
I know.
It's
Time for you to get your sleep.
Sure. Oh, it's about that time.
Like,
I
no,
guess.
you're on to your next thing.
I'm
right?
like, you know, it absolutely. I have another 3 presentations to give next week, but then I'm going to Hawaii.
Oh, you're going to Hawaii.
I'm going to Hawaii next
Hey,
week.
that's beautiful. Like,
Adriana needs a moment. Adriana needs a
for
second
vacation
for
or to work,
vacation.
period. Yes.
For work.
Put the-
No. I am taking a moment
Yes.
to be my best self so I can show up for the folks I need to show
As
up
you
for.
should.
Absolutely.
And echoing what you just said, it is so important to self-care. We talked about this in our last episode, but yes, who saves the hero, right? You have to.
Really. You know, put your oxygen mask on before you put on someone else's.
Seriously.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you know, it is wonderful to dedicate all of my time and my energy and my expertise to the work we do. And I also, as you said, at some point or another, you got to make sure you're not burning out.
Yes.
You got to make sure that you are preserving your energy and that you are able to stay clear-minded and solid-footed in the work that you do. And whether that is you taking a moment to breathe and meditate and come back to the work you're doing, or you literally taking a week to go and disappear and come back.
Yes.
You know, I think that's really, really important, and being able to preserve time for yourself is always going to be valuable. Yeah.
Yes. Especially because we need you at 100.
I do, and I will continue to be 100. There's nothing less, and the community will never get anything less.
Yes,
no.
I believe everything you told us today. So
you.
listen, we already saw it. Yeah, we've already seen it. And again, amazing job today. You brought the people out from 30 to like 80. I don't know how many people was here.
I counted at least 40 or 50.
Period.
I don't know.
It was definitely a lot. You got the mayor and True T Studios. We're thankful for that as well.
Won't be the last time, I'm sure.
Exactly, it won't.
Yes.
It won't be the last time that we all get to work and connect and do this all together. So,
hit it.
super excited.
Thank you both so much for being able to uplift this work and being able, obviously, to be incredible advocates and leaders in your own positions and your own work. The contributions you make towards our community only make our city and our residents much better. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're so appreciated, y'all. Giving the flowers. No, but all love. We thank you so much for finding time to even talk with us. Because like I said, you are very busy. And like you said, you got 3 more presentations.
Yeah, that's on Monday and Tuesday.
Monday and
We're not
Tuesday.
doing
Okay,
nothing tonight. I'm like, no, absolutely not.
She's like, yeah.
No, you didn't see me twice today. She didn't see me twice today. I did give her 2 presentations today. Yeah. I said, oh, Dina, you're here too. I'll see you later. I'll see you later, right? No, thank you both so much. And I, as always love working with the both of you. Always love uplifting this work. And I'm looking forward to other future wonderful conversations.
Period.
Yes.
Pride is only a couple months away. We're about to be out here. We're about to all be back together. So. But no, shout outs again. We thank you for being our first guest and making alleged history with us on the Alleged Podcast. Again, I am Neek. I'm T.
And I'm Adriana.
And this is the Allegedly Show. We thank y'all, and tune in next week.